What is up, college football fans? Happy Tuesday, man. We've made it through the first quarter of the college football season. Can you believe how fast it's going by? It just started, man. It'll be gone before we know it. But anyway, it is Tuesday, and what I do here every Tuesday on the Pigskin Peete YouTube channel is give my top 10. Yes, my top 10, not your top 10, not the AP's top 10, and not anybody else's top 10. This thing is getting a little bit easier, I think, week by week, because some of these teams are starting to catch losses, but there's still, in my opinion, a group between probably about 8 and 15 or 16 that are still pretty much indistinguishable from each other. But the good news is we're starting to get into conference play now. So most of these cupcake games, not all of them, we'll see some of them this week, but most of the cupcake games are over with now. So we can start to better evaluate some of these wins and losses going forward. Anyway, if you're new here, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe button because I do these college football videos and live streams year round. If this is your first top 10 video that you're watching, I'll explain this to you before I start. I look at the season as a whole. The way that the College Football Playoff Committee claims to start over every week, well, that's what I'm claiming to do too. So I don't care where I had somebody ranked last week or the week before. I'm not moving them up based on where I had them ranked last week. I'm looking at this week, their record, who they played, how they've won, how they've lost, etc., etc. So without further ado, let's get right into it with number 10. Making their first appearance on my top 10 list, the Tennessee Volunteers. They are boasting a 3-0 record with their best win being over Pitt, 34-27. There was a lot of hype and expectation about this football team leading into this season, especially on offense. And so far, the offense is living up to the expectation. Hendon Hooker looking pretty good. I think around 69% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, and the main thing, 0 interceptions. Between this good group of receivers and their leading running back, Jalen Wright, they have a very balanced offense. Of course, the concern coming into the season was defense after what we saw last season. They look a little bit better this year. I think they're ranked about 51st in total defense right now, which isn't terrible, but not great. They definitely, look, if they want to compete for the East with somebody like Georgia, they're going to have to improve defensively. Maybe we can see the defense step up this weekend when they take on their rival, Florida. Coming in at number 9, the Arkansas Razorbacks, led by big man quarterback KJ Jefferson. He's been very impressive this year so far. He's got a 70% completion percentage. He's responsible for 9 total touchdowns, 3 of those rushing, 6 passing, and only 1 interception. Not only is the passing attack impressive, but Raheem Sanders and KJ Jefferson together in the backfield rushing makes this a very, very difficult offense to defend. The biggest concern I'd have right now if I was a Razorback would be your defense. 105th nationally in total defense. That ain't going to cut it. You have some very, very difficult games coming up in the SEC over the next few weeks. You're going to have to get better defensively if you want to compete in the West. The Razorbacks get to play Texas A&M this week. Maybe that will help them boost their defensive stats a little bit. Coming in at number 8, the Kentucky Wildcats. Are you starting to notice a trend here? The first 3 on my board, all SEC teams. The Wildcats offense, led by Will Levis, with a very modest passing attack, 67% completion percentage. He has 8 total touchdowns, 6 through the air, 2 on the ground. But the big problem is the 4 interceptions. And their leading rusher, Kavasier Smoke, which is the best name in college football, by the way, has a very modest 178 yards on the ground and only 1 touchdown. So the offense has to improve here if they're going to compete in the East. There's a lot of people out there that are picking them to finish second in the East, or some people have even been saying first in the East if they're able to topple Georgia. I'm not so sure about any of that, but one thing I do know is that defensively they're playing lights out, boasting the 14th ranked total defense in the country. And if you can maintain a top 15, top 10, top 15 total defense in that division, you're going to have a shot every week. Coming in at number 7, the Clemson Tigers. Lots and lots of talk and speculation coming into the season about this offense. What would it look like? Will we see improvement from last season? I may have taken part in some of that conversation after week 1, because everyone was saying after week 1, oh, but the offense hasn't changed a bit. We don't see a difference. Well, we have seen a difference in the last 2 weeks. DJ is looking better in every category over last season. Right now, DJ has a 65% completion percentage, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and only 1 interception. And anybody who's watched the games would know all of those statistics would be much higher if he didn't have so many drop balls by his receivers. The run game for the Clemson Tigers right now is the truth. You got a three-headed monster led by your boy Will Shipley. He's averaging 7.8 yards per carry and has 6 rushing touchdowns. They also use him pretty effectively in the passing game. Sophomore receiver Bo Collins is still the leading receiver, but Antonio Williams, the freshman, is climbing up the ladder. And in my opinion, should be starting every week from here on out. The defense, which everybody has been talking about during the offseason as being one of the best in the country, has been surprisingly underwhelming. They're getting better every week, and they're getting healthier every week. So right now, they're 35th in total defense, which, in my opinion, is not going to cut it. Not if you have aspirations of winning the ACC and making a playoff run. This team goes as the defense goes. But I have all the faith in the world that they'll get it figured out. Coming in at number 6, the USC Trojans. Man, oh man, they look pretty good, don't they? When's the last time the Trojans were in the top 10 in anybody's football rankings? No, I'm just kidding. They look pretty good, though. Look, it looks like a Lincoln Riley offense. It looks like the same Lincoln Riley offense we saw all those years at Oklahoma, and he just picked up, changed jerseys, and took it over to L.A. He brought in 10 million transfers, and also he brought in his favorite quarterback, Caleb Williams, with him from Oklahoma. Caleb Williams is doing Caleb Williams things, 75% completion percentage, 10 total touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. They have a two-headed monster at running back, Travis Dye and Austin Jones. And big-time wide receiver transfer from Pittsburgh, Jordan Addison, is having himself a year with 5 touchdowns. I don't think anybody's surprised at how good this offense looks. I know I'm not. The defense is currently ranked 82nd in the country. If they can get up in the top 50 or even 40, this is sort of the same thing that I said about Oklahoma. As good as Oklahoma's offense was under Lincoln Riley, if they could just stay around 30 or 40 total defense, then they can compete for a national championship. Well, I believe the same is true with USC in the coming years. If they can get up around 30, top 20 would be amazing. Then they're going to be a tough out. Coming in at number 5, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Fighting Brent Venables. Now, we all knew when Lincoln Riley went to Southern Cal and he took Caleb Williams with him and so on and so forth, that we weren't going to see the exact same offense in Norman that we saw last year. But it's not bad. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel's playing pretty good. Modest 66% completion percentage, but 8 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground and 6 through the air. And more importantly, 0 interceptions. They also have a couple of very effective running backs with Eric Gray and Marcus Major, combining for a total of 6 touchdowns on the ground. You have 3 solid receivers you can count on: Marvin Mims, Theo Wees, and Drake Stoops. But what does everybody expect to see out of a Brent Venables-led team? That's right, defense. Right now, they're ranked 35th nationally in total defense, which isn't too shabby. A big-time improvement over the Lincoln Riley years, and I expect that we'll see that improve over the next few seasons as well. All in all, a pretty darn good football team for Coach V's first season. Coming in at number 4, the Michigan Wolverines. Look, you can hate if you want to. The fact of the matter is, Jim Harbaugh has these boys playing with their hair on fire. They've finally moved on from this stupid quarterback controversy, and J.J. McCarthy is the man. They were going back and forth between him and McNamara for the first few weeks, but last week J.J. McCarthy became the solidified starter and right now has a crazy completion percentage of almost 89%, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He's getting a lot of help, too, by running back Blake Corum, who's averaging almost 7 yards per carry and has 7 touchdowns. Wide receivers Ronnie Bell and Roman Wilson are also helping out in the passing game. But the most consistent thing about a Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan team since he's been there has been their defense. They're consistently good year in and year out, and this year is no exception. Right now, ranked 3rd in total defense. Now, I know the people out there will say, well, look at who they play, look at their schedule. They have one of the easiest schedules in all of the country, which is all true. But we'll get to see what they look like this week when they play Maryland. Maryland is a team that has the ability to move the ball on defenses. Coming in at number 3, the Alabama Crimson Tide, led by Heisman winner quarterback Bryce Young. Young's having another very impressive season, 68% completion percentage, 11 total touchdowns, that's 9 through the air and 2 on the ground, and just 2 interceptions. Running back transfer from Georgia Tech, Jahmyr Gibbs, is a huge threat all over the field. Special teams, running the ball, and especially in the passing game. In my opinion, though, what we've seen so far from this offense, something is a little bit off. Over the past few years, we're used to seeing elite wide receiver play out of this Alabama football team. And as of right now, I believe the most productive receiver is their running back. If they can get their wideouts to play anything close to what we've seen from Alabama over the past few years, they'll make another national championship run. But until then, they're going to have to rely on their 7th-ranked total defense to keep them in these games. Coming in at number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes, led by who I believe is the front runner and probably will win the Heisman this year, C.J. Stroud. I said it in the offseason, I said it week 1, and I'm saying it now. I believe C.J. Stroud will win the Heisman in 2022. They're dangerous all over the place on offense, led by a rushing attack with Travion Henderson and a wide receiver room full of NFL talent, namely Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, who have combined on the season for a total of 8 touchdowns. But the real story of this Ohio State football team in 2022 is the vast improvement in defense. Last year, the offense was lighting up scoreboards all over America, and the defense was allowing other teams to light up their scoreboard. And you just can't compete for championships that way. They went out in the offseason and got Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator, and it was worth every penny. An immediate improvement, and they are currently ranked 21st in total defense in the country, and I think they'll be better than that in the coming weeks. Coming in at number 1, the clear-cut favorite in the country right now, the Georgia Bulldogs. Man, they haven't skipped a beat from last season. As a matter of fact, they haven't skipped a beat on defense, which we thought that they probably would, but they've gotten even better on offense. Look at the passing game. They got tight end Brock Bowers. I think he's probably their best receiver. Ladd McConkey's playing lights out. Kenny McIntosh is playing great. Great running game out of Kendall Milton. Stetson freaking Bennett is out there running around looking like a pint-sized Lamar Jackson all of a sudden. I don't know what they're feeding this kid, but his confidence is through the roof. Now they have a cupcake game this weekend at Kent State, so we won't learn a whole lot about it. But right now, and there's still a long way to go between now and the end of the season, and they do have maybe a game or two that they could slip up in during the regular season, certainly in the SEC championship, which I believe is where they are eventually headed. But again, is anybody going to argue with the fact after 3 weeks that they look like the best team in the country? I'm going to go ahead and say no on that. All right, guys. Again, on your way out, make sure you hit the thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Your boy is checking out.